Indeed. All right. I get it. You're just clapping because the AC is on. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So, according to a new poll, Kamala Harris is the front runner for the 2028 Democratic presidential primary. She's up by 16 points and 16 pints. Meanwhile, Mayor Pete is in second place, which is quite a change for him since he isn't used to being behind a woman. No, he's always leading. Politically, he's always ahead. Debbie Wasserman Schultz complained that alligator Alcatraz is making migrants brush their teeth where they poop. Many people point out that it's called a bathroom. Next thing they'll be accused of is heating up their food in the kitchen. The country's largest teachers union believes fighting Trump is more important than teaching reading and writing, claiming Trump is the worst thing to happen to America since Al-Qaeda bombed the Titanic. Soft landing with that joke, huh? At a private fundraiser last week, Barack Obama told Democrats to, quote, toughen up, which is the same thing Michelle says to him before strapping on the flesh hammer. Still don't know what a flesh hammer is, but use your noggin. A Brazilian brothel introduced a 50% Trump tax on U.S. customers, although they claim there will be no taxes on just the tip. A rotting corpse was discovered in a white van in New York City. So that's where I left him, said one woman. Oh, easy peasy. Single Disney fans are getting their own dating app. Fun fact, I went on it and they said I wasn't tall enough to ride any of the women. Tori Spelling confessed that her ex-husband wanted her to role play as her Beverly Hills 90210 character, Donna Martin, in bed. That way, when he puts the paper bag over her head, it's nothing personal. You know, I'm proud of that joke. Finally, President Trump said he regrets having to use the same desk that Biden used in the Oval Office. But it's a lot more fun when someone is under it, said one man. So Democrats like Stacey Abrams are calling Trump an autocrat, protesting his illegal behavior. Of course, she's doing it while brazenly violating elevator weight limits. But talk about a contrast. Trump's being called an autocrat based on imaginary claims from Democrats, while the left ignores what the Biden White House did in reality. Right now, Joe wants to convince us that he was behind those pardons signed with the autopen, when even he can't convince us he can put on his own pants. But the ex-pres rose from his coffin for 10 minutes with the New York Times and said he granted all pardons orally. Didn't Bill Clinton get impeached for that? Yeah. Now, Biden claims he made every decision, which sounds like the cuck that's holding the camera when his wife's being banged by another guy. Oh, I wanted this. That's a great analogy, and I don't care. But at least the Times didn't take his word for it. They added, Biden did not individually approve each name he and aides confirmed. And instead, he signed off on the standards used to determine which convicts would qualify. His team then took care of the details and slammed it through with autopen, with his chief of staff giving the final go-ahead. But you can't use autopen without the president's consent. And do we really think he was able to give that? He was more out of it than Bill Cosby's dates. Ooh. Oh, Bill Cosby fans. So what are these standards that they used? Out of the 25 documents Biden signed, 2 granted pardons to thousands, including criminals, murderers, and child abusers. Those standards were so low, Charles Manson wishes he was alive to qualify. The Kids for Cash judge sent children to prison in exchange for kickbacks, including one young man who later killed himself. Joe commuted his sentence, probably while watching Transformers 2 in his PJs. One ghoul sexually assaulted and murdered 2 young girls, then murdered another woman. Biden commuted his sentence too. So how would you feel if your president let your family members kill her off death row? And how would you feel if it turned out the president's just a drooling vegetable and some unelected bureaucrat actually made that decision? The Times also reports that Biden gave oral decisions at meetings, but the assistants who wrote down Joe's decisions, they weren't in the room when he made them. So you're saying Joe's inner circle wasn't making the calls? And you're telling me we should take the Biden White House's word for it after all the gaslighting they and the media put us through? We're talking about the president who needed to be tased to wake him up from an afternoon nap. I get it. It's true. Other presidents have used autopen before. Obama did. Trump used it. It's usually used for responding to letters, like when I used mine to answer Geraldo's request for money. So is the autopen, I think, maybe one of the biggest scandals we've had in 50 to 100 years, right, Mr. P?
The autopen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. I guarantee you he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it.
Yeah, the pardon power is the president's most absolute, and Biden abused it like Dr. Jill abused him. So do we just say, well, that was terrible, I hope it never happens again? No, you don't do that with crime. You punish the crime. It's why I've got a lifetime ban from the Planet Fitness steam room. I can't be the only one who pees on the sauna rocks. So we need to investigate and cancel everything that Biden wasn't aware of. Biden might have signed off on some horrible crimes, but it would be a worse crime if we did the same. But this veiled process leaves more questions than answers. So we went right to the source. Joining us now is the individual at the center of this scandal, autopen. Thanks for being with us, autopen. My first question, who's telling you what to sign?
Who's telling me what to sign? Oh, the ballpoint's on this guy. No one, Greg. How did you get this show? I have broken crayons, I know, funnier than you. Oh, you know, I hear you used to date my sister until she wanted someone bigger, so she switched to a golf pencil.
Wow. I thought maybe you were going to have some actual answers to these questions and not just insult me. Why did you pardon so many bad criminals?
I wanted to get back at people who keep treating me like some sort of lowlife, Greg. You know, sucking on me to quit smoking, using me to write Third Eye Blind lyrics. Rock bottom was when they had me signing Jesse Waters packages from hymns.
So now that Biden's out of office, what are you going to be signing now?
Mostly bad checks, permission slips, forging life insurance for people about to get murdered. Just once I'd like to sign Dolly Parton's boobs. I'd probably run out of ink, though, if you know what I mean.
Well, thank you, autopen, for not enlightening us on this scandal.
Welcome, Greg.
Bye-bye. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He now owns a soccer team, making him even more boring. Host of Fox and Friends and One Nation, Brian Kilmeade. She talks so fast her tonsils are sponsored by NASCAR. Co-host of Outnumbered, Emily Campagno. He looks like the guy who goes to rehab to sell more drugs. Comedian Adam Hunter. And her audience went from Alice in Chains to Life Alert bracelets. Host of Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. Brian, I know this is hard for you to kind of imagine because no one ever asks you for your signature. What do you think is going on with the autopen, and can this be undone?
Well, we're going to get there, but I think first is panic.
Yeah.
When that doctor showed up last week and took the fifth when asked about his cognitive test and when did you know about the cancer, he would not answer a question. And then his assistant showed up and answered some questions, except for ones which said, did you ever have to wake him up? So he had to quickly pick up the phone and call the New York Times. First time he's done that in 4 years, to say, I did everything. And then little by little, it comes out he did nothing.
Yeah.
It reveals that he had other people deciding what he roughly shaped would be a series of pardons to the tune of 4,000. So there's nothing adding up here. And once again, Joe Biden made things worse by speaking. And here's the question. What did he actually do? And it brings me to you.
Yes.
Because people look at your monologue and they say it's so funny, it's so insightful, it's so you. But no one's ever seen you in the writing room. No one's ever seen you on a conference call. We see you in the hall. You're not funny. There is some scandal here that has yet to bubble up. And that's why I think you're so aggressively pursuing the autopen story. That's my story.
How dare he? I think we know why Steve Doocy moved to Florida. Emily, you are a hot, sexy lawyer, which makes me wonder if you actually ever practiced law. Give us the legal ramifications. Is this all going to end with just a bunch of us whining, or will something actually happen to this? This is a scandal that needs closure.
Yeah, I mean, as an American, God, I hope not. And as an attorney, it better not. Because here's the thing, in actual criminal justice, civilly too, all across the country, a judge cannot stamp a decision. You can stamp copies, you cannot stamp the original order. A judge cannot give an oral order. Everything is null and void unless it is signed by hand from the judge and then also filed with the court. Cases have gone up to the Supreme Court arguing these things. Is it okay if the judge did this? Well, he told me, and then the aide did it. None of it is okay. And so when you contrast that against the most sacred, crucial decision vested by the Constitution in just one commander-in-chief and one executive authority here in the country, you're telling me it would be okay for him to say it in a meeting that then that aide told another aide, and then it was an email and it was a category? Absolutely not. Entire wills and estates and conveyances of property and entire business decisions, so much has been affected in this country of these vacated decisions because the judge didn't do it right. So if the president didn't do it right and he let out murderers on the basis of, oh, it was nonviolent, well, that black widow that was convicted on insurance fraud actually murdered 3 of her exes. That child that killed himself, his mother said, he destroyed our family, and now it's being destroyed again. Talking about the judge, and then now the president who commuted his sentence. The list goes on of the depths of despair that the victims are in. They are reeling from what this president did. He absolutely did not do it with sound mind. He didn't do it himself, and so yes, there will be accountability.
All right, Adam. I'm sure you're kind of measuring what you'll say because you know one day you might need a pardon.
It's true, and I know who I'll have to build a time machine to go back to when he was president and get one.
Yes.
But it's crazy because, like, at this point, Trump is just calling him autopen.
Yes.
And he's calling the View Pigpen. But that autopen did have a mind of its own. At one point, it said it was voting for Trump. But yeah, he actually did admit. He said I didn't individually look at who I was pardoning. I put them all as groups, which is insane. I mean, because like there were people that were in jail for crack, and he just put Hunter's friends.
Kennedy,
Hi.
the last word to you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So here we go. The autopen. It's like Auto Universe. but much more offensive, and you can't go around kicking the tires. I'm surprised that Democrats aren't getting on board here, because now they can throw Biden under the bus.
Yes.
Who cares? People are making millions of dollars writing crappy books about how bad the Biden presidency was, especially at the end. And if they could use this to somehow curtail Trump's power, I'm so surprised that they haven't jumped on the bandwagon. Because there are very few things that Republicans and Democrats can agree on right now, like misuse of the auto pen is wrong. Propping up a vegetable who has no cognitive ability, that is wrong. Saying that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, that is wrong. That's one of the few things that Democrats...
How'd that even come up?
Yeah.
It was like...
I've not heard anything about that.
Like one of the few things that we can all agree on.
I know, we were all told like Epstein to hang in there.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like if you see... And this is what's really tragic about this, is the auto pen is reserved for the President of the United States. If you see Vince Neil now in his present condition, his hands are like this. They are gnarled,
And
just
he's still...
dried up branches because he had to sign so many breasts. If he had had the auto pen, he'd be like this. Yes.
That's a beautiful story.
Right.
What a beautiful story. We must move on because we have so much more to talk about up next. Barack's Tough Talk.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.